After walking for a long time, Muffy unknowingly wandered into a very dense part of the forest. The trees here were incredibly tall, and sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick leaves. The forest was dark, as if night had already fallen, even though it was still daytime. Muffy felt very small in the middle of the vast forest. He heard the cry of an owl from above the trees. "Who's there?" he said with a trembling voice. But he saw nothing. His foot got stuck in the slippery mud. He tried to pull it out, but ended up falling. "I don't like it here," he sobbed, tears starting to stream down his face. Yet, despite his fear, Muffy stood up and continued his journey. He remembered his father's voice saying, "You have to be brave." Muffy, brave like the sakura tree that keeps blooming even when storms come. Muffy grew weaker from hunger. He stopped under a big tree. His round eyes looked around, hoping to find something to eat. He tried chewing on the leaves on the ground, but they tasted bitter. He clutched his growling stomach. While he was trying to find fruit, Muffy didn't realize he was being watched. From behind the bush, a pair of large yellow eyes were observing him. Suddenly, from the darkness, a huge lion with a magnificent golden mane emerged. Muffy stepped back in fear. "Please don't eat me," he whispered in a small voice. The lion looked at him with curiosity. "I won't eat you, little one. My name is Leo, and I'm the king of this forest. Who are you, and why are you here alone?" "I'm Muffy," Muffy replied softly. "I got separated from my family, and I don't know where to go." Leo sat beside Muffy, folding his large paws. "You must be very scared. Don't worry, I'll help you. In this forest, all small creatures are my responsibility." Muffy felt slightly relieved. "You really won't hurt me?" Leo smiled, showing his large but non-threatening teeth. "Of course not. Now, let's find you something to eat. You'll need your strength to continue your journey." Muffy nodded, and for the first time since the disaster, he felt a little calmer. He walked beside Leo, hoping that the big lion would truly help him find his family. Muffy and Leo walked together through the forest, passing towering trees and thick bush filled with the sounds of birds and the rustling of leaves. They were searching for something to eat. After hours of wandering aimlessly, they suddenly stumbled upon an overgrown fruit orchard in the middle of the forest. The trees were laden with ripe and fresh fruit, like a small gift amidst their struggle. Muffy picked a fruit and sniffed its aroma, but she didn't eat it right away. "Aren't you hungry?" Leo asked while chewing. Muffy gave a faint smile, but her eyes glistened with tears. "I am hungry, but it feels strange to eat when my heart feels so empty." After gathering enough fruit to bring back, they decided to head to Leo's home. On the way, Leo noticed Muffy's silence, interrupted only by the occasional deep sigh. "What's on your mind, Muffy?" Leo asked gently. Muffy stopped walking, lowered her head, and spoke in a trembling voice. I just keep thinking about my family. I don't even know if they're still alive." Tears began streaming down her cheeks. "When the big disaster struck my village, I was swept away by the strong current. I tried to hold on, but by the time I came to my senses, I was all alone in the forest." Leo stood silently, looking at Muffy with deep sympathy. He knew the pain she carried was too heavy for mere words to ease. Placing a hand on her shoulder, he said, "We don't know what tomorrow holds, Muffy, but today you're not alone. My family and I will take care of you." When they arrived at Leo's house, Leona, Leo's wife, greeted them warmly. However, her smile faded into concern as she noticed Muffy's weary and disheveled appearance. "Who is she, Leo?" she asked softly. Leo explained everything, from meeting Muffy to the disaster that had torn her family apart. Leona couldn't hold back her tears. She approached Muffy, gently took her hand, and said, "You're safe here, dear. Consider this house your home." Leo explained everything, from meeting Muffy to the disaster that had torn her family apart. Leona couldn't hold back her tears. She approached Muffy, gently took her hand, and said, "You're safe here, dear. Consider this house your home. Come on, Muffy, I want to show you my treehouse." Joe exclaimed enthusiastically. At first, Muffy only managed a small smile, but as Joe held her hand tightly, a little warmth began to fill her heart. They climbed up the ladder to a simple yet sturdy treehouse. From the top, they could see the evening sky painted in hues of orange. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Muffy murmured. Joe smiled and said, "I always come here when I'm feeling sad. This place feels like a second home to me." Inside the house, Leo watched them from the window, standing next to Leona. "Poor girl," Leona whispered. "We can't replace her family, but I want her to know she's not alone." Leo wrapped his arm around Leona. "We'll do our best, as if she were one of our own." Muffy, now smiling again atop the treehouse, felt for the first time that perhaps, amidst her loss, she had found a new place to call home.